G'day gentlemen, I'm with my friend Crypto Messenger. Just wanted to say hello first of all and thanks for all your support. Here we have an actual article regarding an actual image I saw on Facebook. So someone's posted up a post on Facebook, sort of caught my eye. A bit pathetic, but there are some things I don't want to talk about when it comes to the analysis of a red-pilled man and how it's different as compared to the analysis of a blue-pilled man. And when he sees images, this is the image right here, but I'm going to go back a little bit at the top, and the image is called Tips to Look After Your Husband. So I'll just pass you on to my friend Crypto Messenger for a second.
Okay, hey everyone. I just want to say the 1950s was very different to now. Most people didn't have cars at all outside of America. Many people didn't have refrigerators, didn't have a lot of appliances. So being a housewife, it was more of a full-time job because you couldn't just get in the car and drive to McDonald's. You know, you had to just buy the food each day and cook it. And if you ask plenty of women today, or look at women's results of depression, like they're much more depressed now, much more unhappy now, because there is no choice to be a housewife. If you get married, you both have to work to be able to buy a house in any major city. So it's something that feminists should be looking to as a golden era, but instead they're putting it down as usual.
What about World War II? I mean, wasn't that at the time when World War II had just finished as well?
Yeah, World War II had just finished. So I know about Russia, 20 million Russians were killed, and they were mostly men. So that was a very big chunk of the male population gone. So the woman who remained had to compete to try and get a man after World War II.
So this article is in the Daily Mail Australia. Look at that pathetic shit there. Female. Planned dinner the night before. Never complain and speak. So make sure you speak in a soft voice to your husband. And they've just chucked in this little, couple of words here. They're cringeworthy. 1950s marriage advice for housewives and how to look after their husbands. So it states here, over the past 60 years, the relationship dynamic between men and women has changed drastically.
It sure has, with feminism, family courts, alimony. It's just never ending how bad it's become.
You know, there are some hidden things. This is what I was saying in the beginning with regards to the red-pilled man and how he views things, especially going by MGTOW philosophy and the things that I personally have learned in the last few years. We know that things have drastically changed. But there are underlying things that are never spoken about that have also changed, and I'll get into that really soon. Next sentence, and while many are still fighting for equality, a look back at what married life was like in the 1950s shows just how far we have come. I mean, is this far forward or far backward?
Well, it's obvious the author thinks it's backward because it's from the Daily Mail and they're making fun of this article. But as I said before, the 50s were a golden era for women. Totally looked after, didn't have to work, didn't have any pressures. The men did everything for them. And now women have to work if they get married because you just can't buy a house with one income these days.
Exactly. So, what they're trying to also say is today we've come forward as compared to the article and what it was stating for women to do back in the 1950s. An extract from the 1950s home economics book recently took the internet by storm, with thousands unsure whether to be shocked or amused by the cringeworthy marriage advice offered to women at the time. So, marriage advice at the time to women, and today we also have marriage advice to women. So we have this mask that women were supposed to wear back at the time, and this mask came in the form of tips, of advice on how to change and chip away at this mask and make it appeal to the man at the time. So at the time we have, for example, one of the first paragraphs here is plan ahead. So have dinner ready, plan ahead, even the night before, to have a delicious meal on time. This is a way of letting him know that you've been thinking about him and are concerned about his needs. Most men are hungry when they come home, and the prospects of a good meal are part of the warm welcome needed.
Yes, once again, this was the 1950s, so there weren't McDonald's and KFCs on every corner, so that a woman was expected to cook meals only because that was the role of a mother and a housewife. And if you think about it, don't you get something out of a freezer the night before if you want to cook it? It really doesn't sound like a hardship or like a punishment for women at all.
That's true. I can appreciate that. Also, there's hidden things here. For example, this is a way of letting him know that you've been thinking about him and are concerned about his needs. So you may not really be thinking about him, nor are you concerned about his needs, but just make it look like you are concerned about his needs because you want this man around. You know, it goes back to the 1950s. World War II is just finished, and you need the utility of a man. So wear a mask and make it out like you are concerned about this man and that you're thinking about this man. This is the hidden things that only a red-pilled man, in my opinion, can see. And it just carries on. Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest. I mean, rest from what?
Yes, exactly. They're not working. They're just home all day. So what are you resting from?
So take 15 minutes to rest so that you'll be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup, put a ribbon in your hair, and be fresh looking. He's just been with a lot of work-weary people. Be a little gay and a little more interesting. His boring day may need a lift. To be honest with you, I reckon his day wasn't boring at all.
No.
He must have had a great day. He's coming home to someone that's probably been nagging him. Maybe not as much as a woman would nag today, because again, it goes back to
not in the 50s, no.
Yeah, it goes back to utility and the need for that utility.
That's right.
You know, that mask, she had to put on that mask, that she wasn't a nagger, that she was a nice woman, that she was a fresh woman, that she was concerned about him. Chameleon mask.
That's right.
Clear away the clutter. Make one last trip through the main part of the house just before your husband arrives. Gathering up school books, toys, paper, etc. Then run a dust cloth over the tables. Your husband will feel he has reached a haven of rest and order, and it will give you a lift as well.
And once again, it'll only take a few minutes to do, so it's hardly a big suffering for women to actually tidy up a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, what I'm starting to feel and picture in my mind, and pretty much something that's becoming a lot clearer and apparent. I'm just going to say it straight out. When men ruled, if men ruled, let's just say this was a patriarchy at the time. Men ruled. Men were still nice to women. They were chivalrous. I mean, they would open doors for women. We've all seen those images. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, how that man would take off the jacket, water on the floor, throw it on the ground, let the woman walk over it so that she doesn't get dirty, or whatever it was for. But men were chivalrous, yet they attained the power. They had the power at the time, and yet men were nice to women.
Yes, I think that chivalry was very, very much back then, greater back then. I've even heard of men slapping other men for not tipping their hat at women and cursing at women. So men really did look after women when we had the power.
What about today? Who's got the power today? We cannot say that a man that lives on the plantation has power.
No.
The only way you can get power is when you go your own way.
Yes.
But a man on a plantation doesn't have any power. So the plantation today is ruled by women. How do women treat men today?
Oh, they totally don't need men. You can see it in all the songs and how women are doing it for themselves nowadays. Women just know they don't need a man at all.
So they know they don't need a man, and they treat a man like rubbish, pretty much.
That's right.
Prepare the children, take a few minutes to wash the children's hands and faces if they are small, comb their hair, and if necessary, change their clothes. They are little treasures, and he would like to see them playing the part.
Yes, well, most women don't have children these days, so it's pretty amazing when they did have children that women were staying home and looking after them.
You know, this part right there, they are little treasures, and he would like to see them playing the part. See, this is manipulation in a hidden way. There's background, there's information embedded right within that sentence. Men do see their little kids as very, very special. They are little treasures. And today, instead of allowing men to freely communicate, play, and teach, educate, and help their children flourish, they're taken away from men.
That's right.
So they knew back then, women knew back then, that children to men are little treasures.
Yes, so that's why they take them away, just to be the boss and to spit in the man's face.
Minimize all noise at the time of his arrival. Eliminate all noise of washer, dryer, dishwasher, or vacuum. Try to encourage the children to be quiet. Be happy to see him. Greet him with a smile and be glad to see him.
Okay, that doesn't sound like much work at all, because you can be as noisy as you like all day, and then when he gets home, you just be quiet. It's really not hard.
It's not hard to do, but I mean, these days, you won't even get a woman doing that in a marriage.
No.
You know, she's going to make it out like she's doing the hard work in front of the man. He's going to hear the noise of the washer. He's going to hear the dryer. She's even going to tell him, why don't you get up and do the dishes?
Exactly.
Or vacuum. So the stuff that men themselves had invented to make women's lives easier have been thrown back in the faces of men and pretty much are being used to abuse men themselves.
Yes, that's right.
And be happy to see him, greet him with a warm smile and be glad to see him. You know, prepare him a hot meal. You don't even get that these days. No, go get KFC. Go get Macca's.
That's right.
Here we got some don'ts. Don't greet him with problems or complaints. Don't complain if he's late for dinner. Count this as minor compared with what he might have gone through that day.
Exactly, and it's not hard to leave his plate in the oven on low with another plate on top of it until he gets home. It's really simple stuff.
So it's pretty much telling a female here to be considerate.
Wow,
that's it.
What a suffering that is for women. Be considerate.
You know, he may have had to, probably push the schedule a little bit more. Maybe they were running late, for example, for a concrete pour, or if he worked in an office, maybe had some more invoices to put together, and just stuff like that. So just relax. He's not cheating.
No.
You know, today, if a man's late, where are you? Or she'll be ringing him while he's late. And when he's finished and he's on his way home while he's driving, he's probably getting messages and phone calls, nagging the shit out of him. When he gets home, she gives him the cold shoulder, probably turns her back on him when they're in the bed, withholds sex from him, which is, not only is that abuse itself, everything that I just said right there is abuse anyway.
That's right. And coming from 1950, we can't hear any talk about sex at all. So it's kind of like the woman never had to put out anyway, even in the 1950s.
Make him comfortable. Have him lean back in a comfortable chair, or suggest he lie down in the bedroom.
Yeah, get out. Don't want to see you.
Have a cool or warm drink ready for him. Arrange his pillow and offer to take off his shoes. Speak in a low, soft, soothing, and pleasant voice. Allow him to relax and unwind. Listen to him. That's sort of connected to that last one. You may have there's too much light there.
Looks like other things to do to tell him something.
But the main something of his arrival is not the time. Let him talk first.
Great.
Make the evening his. Never complain if he doesn't take you out to dinner. Oh, wow. Or to other something of entertainment. Instead, try to understand his world of strain and pressure. Whoa! Someone here understood the way a man lives.
That's right.
You know, a world of strain and pressure. His need to come home and relax.
That's right.
And the goal is to try to make your home a place of peace and order, where your husband can renew himself in body and spirit.
Well, that's how it should be all the time. It should be this way now, but because of things like feminism, it's all been turned upside down, and it's all about the woman. She comes first, they're her children, her house. So it just shows you how the world's been turned upside down in a very short amount of time.
For me personally, I see it today. The only way a man can renew himself in body and spirit is to go monk.
Yeah.
So being a MGTOW going monk, that's the best way, in my opinion, to renew. You know, a man can renew himself in body and spirit. For me, all I see here is just a mask being handed to a female, to a woman, to be worn, to manipulate that man, to extract his resources and utility. 1950s, World War II is just finished. Let's keep the system going for a while till we flip it back to a misandric system. Here we've got an image of someone doing a lot of hard work, man.
These those fatty roasts of the 1950s, and not many people are overweight eating that fatty food, so shows you how all this supermarket food has changed our metabolism.
That's true with all that hormone, etc.
Yes, chemicals in our foods.
Plan ahead. So here we go, the person that's put this article together. Plan ahead even the night before to have a delicious meal on time. This is a way of letting him know that you've been, the extract reads, most men are hungry, blah, blah, blah. Part of the warm welcome needed. Preparing themselves was also a must, with women advised to take 15 minutes to rest so that they would be refreshed when the husbands arrived home. Ha 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 ha! So, it's a feminist laugh.
That's right, that's right.
Touch up your makeup, keeping the house clean. This is like, whoa! Quote unquote, speak in a low, soft, soothing and pleasant voice. Allow him to relax, unwind in pink writing.
That's right.
Oh, how could that person that put that article say that back in the 50s? So this is all oppression, male oppression, male towards female oppression.
And that's the only oppression that matters these days. So very, very interesting to see this article, see how times have changed. And even if your wife was wearing a mask to do these few things to make your life happy, it was way better than the mask that women wear now to get men. So I still think the 50s were a golden era for men and women, and now things are miserable for men and for women too, because women have to work nowadays.
I see today women, I think back then you could probably say all women wore the mask back in the 50s, 60s and around that era. Today, women don't really need to wear the mask. I think the only time that they wear the mask
is when you're courting them, when you first meet them.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. When they're trying to get a man for his utility, resources and what have you. But I think also in their younger years, they pretty much don't wear any mask at all. It's just them at their most basic animalistic level.
Well, I think that the normal state for women is dating limbo. Young women don't want to date, don't want a man. They concentrate on their study, on their career. So there's no need to wear a mask. You can just be obnoxious to men and not date them.
All right, we'll leave it at there, guys. Thank you very much, brother, for being in this.
I
think your phone's ringing, so we'll have another episode of one of these videos in the very near future, guys. Thanks for listening.
Okay,
Talk
bye.
to you soon.